because the banks literally, they put metal all over the glass, and they put locks, chains, metal in the whole nation. All the banks were locked up because people were walking in. I remember one specifically went in with a grenade, put it in the inside of the bank and say, I'm going to blow the whole bank if I don't get my money back. And it's so interesting because the government didn't know how to respond to this because they couldn't put him in jail because he was asking for his own money. Well, my parents, my uncle, everybody was kind of frustrated because all their savings, all their money got locked up with the bank. Right before the Depression hit, the accounting guy for the government, for the president, determined for the second time in the history of my 36 years old, the second time they happened in my understanding that I have the opportunity to leave, he write down in the government that all the money will belong to the government until they can pick up the government feet. And after they do that, they will try to do something back to everybody they just have took it. So it was a frustration, it was a desperation in the whole government and the whole nation. People were breaking in, people were trying to survive, but at the same time asking for what had been taken from them. When I look at the Bible outside of Moses, I have two stories to share to you today. But Moses was raised, and when he was a little baby, his mama hid it and took it because it was in some kind of formal of depression where they were killing their kids. So he survived, and he was raised by the Pharaoh family. Well, as he grew, he started seeing all this injustice that I have the opportunity to see in my country. And I'm going to go somewhere with this because, if we look at the United States, we start hearing today that things can head that way in this country. And we start seeing the economy, we start seeing the government, we start seeing the way the Medicaid and everything is working, and all this socialism and at the same time power and all these things. But today I really believe that God wants to speak to our heart because desperations and frustration and all these things can hit us if we allow it. And in a way, it's already happening. So when I look at Moses' life, I learned something amazing. He grows up, and the Bible says that next to this, as he became now an adult, he started realizing that his people were oppressed. And so he goes outside and he sees that these Pharaoh people were bothering his people, his Jewish people. And so he started looking around and he sees nobody. And he said, man, I'm going to do something. And he goes and kills this dude. So he kills it. And everything is okay. So the next day, he just get up and goes and he see his people arguing. And he's like trying to become the judge between them and help them. He sees a need and he tried to help. But during that need, he's like, these guys turn to him and say, who you think you are? You think you're our judge? Are you going to kill us like you killed the Pharaoh? So he realized that he cannot hide. He's like, wow, man, I'm exposed. I tried to help my people. Obviously, he did it in the wrong way. So the Pharaoh tried to kill Moses. Moses ran away. Now, years passed through. And years passed through. And what amazed me, and I'm going to read this with you in the Bible. In Exodus 2:11 to 15 is a story that I was just telling you. But I'm going to go to Exodus 3. And say, now Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law. This past time, all this time passed, and now he's just doing this for his father-in-law. He got married in this place, and he led the flock to the back of the desert and come to, just repeat this, come to what? Horeb, that's how you say? Horeb. He came to Horeb. Where? The mountain of God. I love it. Well, all his nation, it gets to a point that if you keep reading, they were so frustrated now they have become a slave of the Egyptians. In a way, like my country have become a slave of the government. The government was in power of everything, and literally people were slaves. Their money was not even there. And even to go forward, I'm going to tell you a little bit more of our story. People were saving in dollars. Honestly, that's what make the dollar value. All the nations believe in the dollar. So even our people in another country, even though that's not our money, we will buy dollars and save in dollar, which is good for you guys because it's good for us because now I'm an American citizen. So good. Yeah, I used to say I have an American wife, American kids, and I used to have an American dog too. It's funny because it had one blue eyes and one brown. So sometimes he will blink and it was like American, and then blink the other one, it was Hispanic. Now I'm serious. I got to. Whatever. So something else happened. We will save in dollars. Well, the government hold those dollars because those dollars have value. The government collapsed, so the dollar was still value in the United States. So you know what they did? They devalued the money. The dollars became like 5. In that time, it was like 6, 7 times 1. And it just happened. So what they will do is like, okay, we will return the money to you, they say. But we're going to return it the same amount that you have in the bank, but we're going to give it to you in pesos. So the people automatically lost 7 times less. And they create this paper that we heard this to Rick Linden and was raised in the mountain. In the mountains, they will pay you with money that was only worth on the mountain. So you become a slave of the mountain. Here in Kentucky, whenever they were minding coal, they will pay them with money that it was only to be used on the mountain. They did the same thing. They create this money, fake money, that was only to return it to the people that they can only buy things in their little towns. Become slave of a nation. Same thing has happened to Egypt. People become slave of Egyptians. Moses saw this and got frustrated. He's like, man, I want to help. I want to do something. So how many want to help what is happening to state today? I want to help. I want to do something. And through the word, we want to see today, how can I do this? How can I help? How can I be different that way? Well, we see it through the life of Moses. He tried with his own way, and it didn't work. So he ran away. Now I'm going to jump to another story, Elijah. A man that listened to the voice of God. God said, go tell them that it's not going to rain, and it didn't rain. And he goes and says, by my mouth, when rains come, it's going to come because I say so, because that said the Lord. Well, he goes and through a little place, a little water come and he become comfortable. God dried out. We know that story. So he goes and God speaks to him and say, get out, Moses. Remember this. You cannot go speak and set nobody free if God doesn't say so. Even Elijah say, by my mouth it's going to rain. He couldn't say it's going to rain until God spoke to him and say, now get up, Moses, and go tell them that it's going to rain. So that's the number one thing. How can I help people? First of all, Moses realized that he could not do it in his own way by killing somebody. By going and protesting with Obama. By buying more guns and shooting everybody, or being prepared, by making wells and buying food just in case something happened. Honestly, it's funny because we were not expecting anything in Argentina, but it happened. It happened. And you're like, well, that's why we get prepared. Well, I'm going to tell you how Argentina became a flow, how the Christian became a flow. And it wasn't because they say money. They say money was collapsed. It wasn't because they were prepared. Everything that was prepared, it was turned down. And the same thing has happened in the history of Moses. The same thing happened now with Elijah. He got scared as it can be. Actually, when he got scared, because now he go build an altar, gas and fire. He have a relationship. He have seen the power of God like nobody else. But Jezebel stood up and say, hey, I'm going to kill you. I always say, I'm going to kill you. Smiggle. So, Sorry, I teach in chapel sometimes, so I got to become more youthly. So what happened is, now Elijah ran away, but this is why he ran away. When God asked him, what in the world's going on with you? He said, I was afraid because I'm the only one. I'm the only one. He felt that he was the only one. The only one standing, the only one there, the only one. And this is what I want to get today. What happened when I feel the only one? What happened when I feel the only one in the family, or the only one that carried the anointing? The only one. What happened when I see all this bad? What happened when the economy collapsed? What happened when depression? What happened when I don't feel it, God, the way that I used to? What happened when I don't have that experience like it used to be in the older generation? You know, I connect with the older people because I was raised like you. I was raised in the middle of the Pentecostals, revivals. So sometimes I wanna sing, I have a river. Oh, no, that's not the song that you used to do. That's a new one. But I have a river of life. You remember that one? You know, and we will do the train and start dancing all around. And so what happened? You know, should I go back and what it used to be, or you know? So here in these stories, in this true story, I found a familiar thing, and that's what I want to go tonight. What happened when Elijah is passing through all this affliction that he realized or he felt that he's the only one? Because at some point we're like, you know, yeah, we point at him, but in reality, he says they have killed everybody. So in another word, he was saying what he's seen. He's seen that he's the only one. He said everybody have become idolatrous. That's what he says. They all have decided to follow their government, follow their convictions, follow their idols. But I'm the only one, God, that has stood up for you, and look what is happening to me. They're going to kill me. So sometimes we point at him, but in reality, he's speaking of what he's seen. He's seen that he's the only one. The only one standing. That's what he's seen. That's what he's feeling. The reality is when we're feeling captivated and we're feeling in depression, you know, that's how we feel. That's our reality. We turn in on TV and, you know, you don't pass through this. I did, but, you know, our people sometimes are, last night we were watching something that amazed me. You know, if you ever need a job, go to Florida. There's 7,000 jobs open. Then nobody want to take it. You know that every time you drink an orange drink, it's because a Hispanic people have taken it out of the tree for you? Because there is not one single American that can do that job? No, I'm serious. I just watched a documentary and I was amazing because they pay 95 cents for the SAG. 95 cents. So there is not a one single American that want to do that job. And those that signed out, they quit. 7,000 open jobs. But our mentality is like there is no jobs in America. There is not a jobs in America that they pay $50 an hour. Hey. Let's go to Florida. We all have a job. How many people are here? Well, that's the reality on the Great Depression. You know who are the people that survive? The ones that see things different. Muhammad Ali became a boxer. Is that true? But in boxing, he will go and work in any kind of job in the Great Depression. So what I'm saying is you look at the history of the Bible and any depression and oppression of the enemy, the people that come and flow are the people that start looking different. That instead of looking at themselves and try to do judgment in themselves, they start looking at who? At God. And that's what I found in the history. Whenever you look at it, look what happened in Moses. So now Moses sent to the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, and priest of Midian, and he left the flock to the back of the desert and come to Oreb. That's how I say it. Okay, you say how? Okay, Oreb. Horeb. There you go. You got to do the H there. Horeb. Dale say that whenever I speak like that, my accent leaves, so I speak like Dale. Where's Dale? There you go. There we go. I don't have an accent right now. Thus says the Lord. Dale, and I was with Dale Yerton this weekend. So, man, it's like you hear God all the time because he's like, oh, yes, the Lord said. Now, he's an amazing man, too. Dale, there we go. Dale Adam, my father-in-law, see? I'm glad I don't have to work the sheep to get my wife like Moises did. But too late, Dale. You should have made a deal before. All right, so this is an amazing thing. He went to Horeb. I'm going to say it like I say it. Horeb, the mountain of God. So what can I do whenever I'm in all these depression, oppressions, and we feel in this reality and we see in these things? I'm going to tell you what I saw two times in my 36 years old in Argentina. People become so frustrated because we have Europe background. I'm a citizen from Spain. I'm a citizen from Argentina, and I am a citizen from United States of America. How that happened, my grandma is from Spain, my grandpa is from Russia, Jewish, and then my other two grandparents are from Bulgaria. So when the depression came, a lot of them start fleeing from different nations. So I have uncles, and it's so interesting because the same thing happened in Jerusalem. God said, I will bring the gospel to all the world. You know how he take them out of Jerusalem? By oppression. So it's so amazing because instead of looking at the oppression and instead of looking at this thing, if you and I learn from Moses, from Elijah, if we learn from all of them, we got to learn how to become overcomers. We will. So this is what happened. Moses, I don't know if I don't think it was randomly. He had such a respect of God. But it say he took the flock and went to Horeb. Hebrew. Horeb. So, to the mountain of God. Look what happened now in the other story, in Elijah. Let's go to 1 King. Exactly. Went to the same place. 1 King 19, 8 and 9. So he arose and drank, and he went into the strain of the food 40 days and 40 nights, as far as where? Horeb. Where? So that here goes Elijah in a desperate situation, running away. But look where he goes. He didn't went to his grandma's house and cry. Or grandpa. He didn't went to Obama and say, how can you help me? He didn't. These people went to the right place. They went to Horeb, the mountain of God. And then God, the same way, and to Moses' story, God appeared to him and said, I have heard the cry out of my people. I have heard them cry out. So take your sandal because this is a holy ground. And it's like, I have chosen you. I'm going to send you to set them free. To Elijah, he said, what in the world are you doing here? That's what he said. What's up with you? ¿Qué pasó? There you go. What are you doing here, Elijah? Well, he's respond and he say, buddy, let me show you what I see. And I'm going to give you a few points over here that I believe with all my heart. It doesn't matter what happened in the United States. What matters is what happened in your heart. The Bible says that the intimacy of God is for those that fears God. That's in Psalms. To be intimate with God is fear God. I believe with all my heart, Moses, it wasn't a coincidence. Let's say that it was a coincidence, but he went to Horeb. Horeb, the mountain of God. Elijah, he was afraid. He was desperate. You can call him a coward or whatever you want to call him, but he went to the right place. What I'm saying is we all have issues. Nobody in this place is holy enough to be in the hills of the mountain. and have clean hands and a pure heart. And that's why by grace and by grace alone we live. Jesus Christ have cleaned us. He sent His Spirit, which is holy, to make us holy. So in another word, we receive salvation by grace. We receive holiness by the Holy Spirit. The problem is sometimes we try to make up holiness. And we don't understand, you're not holy, I'm not holy. He make me holy. So all I have to do is, like Pastor Richie was saying this morning, stop what we're doing, hiding, putting masks, and understand that way we're going to go nowhere. Because if I try, I'm going to fail. So what I can do is the same thing that Elijah did and the same thing that Moses did. Run to the mountain of God. Run to the place where I can hear His voice. And you're like, well, in Revelation says He make us all kings and priests. So that means that He speaks to you the same way that He speaks to me. He does. So what can I do? Even if it's happening now, if it's going to happen tomorrow, stop focusing on those things. If the TV affects you too much, throw it away. And the truth is, doesn't matter what happened. What matters is where you are running towards. Like I said, they locked up everything. They locked up all the money. They did all that. So how do we survive? Churches become from 100 members to 1,000 members in Argentina. Still today, thousands of members in churches. The bigger revival, you know when it happened? When the depression happened. Why? Because people realize in that moment that they cannot be cold or hot. In other words, they cannot be, how you say when they're in the middle? Lukewarm. It sounds like a worm to me, like a lukewarm. So, but that's fine. It's just a translation in my head. Sorry. But that'd be a good thing. You stop being a worm. I'm eating dust. There you go. But the worm. In Argentina, they stopped being worm. They couldn't just go to church to satisfy themselves as I'm Christian. They were desperate. And they realized that they were desperate. They have no money for their kids, and the money that they have, the savings, everything was gone. The only thing they could hold, if they have land, that's the only thing that the government could touch, the land. But everything else, the government did whatever they want. Even in the 70s, the government even overtook the presidencies. And there were, like what you see in the movies, there were times, at 8 p.m., everybody needs to be locked down in the room. And I was raised in the middle of that. I can hear the gunshot in the backyard of my house. No long time ago, they start digging hole and they found hundreds of bodies hiding inside of that place that the government hid. Depression, oppression, slavery. How did the people survive? How did my dad, my grandpa, how did they did it? Going back to the mountain of God, where the answer is. Going back to where God speaks. If your son and your daughters are not having an encounter with God, what can you do? You go back to the mountain. That's what my mom did. Every day, not every day, but a majority of the days of the week, she will go 4 in the morning, go walk 1 block, find my grandma, and then walk like a mile or 2 to the church through the neighborhood that she could be raped, she could be stolen, they could do anything to her. It was dark, but they will go, get in their need in the church and pray for somebody that today is standing in front of you and is preaching the gospel. So somebody in my family understood, where do they make the difference? In the mountain of God. Why do you and I come to church? Are we warm? Are we waiting for the government to oppress us, to make us understand that we're not either cold or hot, we're warm? In our nation, that warm stopped because people could not hide it no more. They either seek God or not. Moses and Elijah end out in the same place. One have a word, I'm going to kill you. The other one too, the Pharaoh was wanting to kill him. And they're both knew where to go, and that's where they went, to the mountain of God. And because they went there, they have an encounter. And now I'm going to relay a little bit more with Elijah. Look what God said. First of all, what can I do? Go back to the mountain of God. Well, where is that mountain? Welcome. You're in the right place right now. Your church, your place. You pray closer. Where do you have an encounter? You know what's so amazing? To me, it is the church. But sometimes it's just in the shower. Where nobody else can be there. And I just turned the shower and I cried out to God. And that's my mountain. That's my place. Why is a mountain? Because I seek Him with all my heart. That's your mountain, the place that you go and you realize that you're going to see God with all your heart. It might be in a style. Today mountains was, West Mountain today, it was the way that he worshiped God. Andy too. It might not be your style, your way. Well, we're going to learn something here. Elijah's style maybe was the God was going to speak through wind. You know what? It wasn't in the wind for him. It might be in the wind for you. When somebody blow to you. Jim Creek experienced that a lot. Jim Creek walked with Benny Hinn, so he knows that the moment there's something blowed on him, the presence is there. It might not work with you like that. It didn't work with Elijah this time. The fire came, it wasn't in the fire. An earthquake came, it wasn't in the earthquake. But something really, really like a silent whistle. And he knew in that moment was God. And in that mountain, that's how he heard. The intimacy of God is for those that fear. If we come to this place fearing God and understanding this is my mountain, I'm desperate. I'm not going to carry this mask no more. I'm not going to be warm no more. Why? Because I cannot afford it. I need God and I need it with all my heart. My kids need God. My family need my God. Benton need God. Marshall County need God. We need God. So I'm going to get over my style because it might not speak through me through fire, but it's going to speak me when it's quiet. It might not speak with me when it's windy, but it's going to speak to me when it's, we need to stop all these things. I might be more quiet. Adam is more quiet when he worships, when the anointing is there when he worships quietly. The anointing is for somebody else when you loud. Then the truth is, what matters is the attitude. If I'm coming fearing God, if I'm coming to this place fearing God, that's it. Nobody have to lead me because I already come to have an encounter with the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And that was Moses' attitude. That was Elijah's attitude. They went to the mountain of God, understanding that God was going to speak to them. Maybe Moses wasn't, but Elijah. Maybe Elijah wasn't either because he was afraid and he was running away. But they went to the right place. And because they went to the right place, God spoke to them. So God speak to them. And the amazing thing, this is what he said. Elijah, let me first change your mind. And this is the amazing thing. We can come and give us our best worship, but you know what's going to come back? It's going to come back to discipling. God wants us to bring our worship back to Him, and whenever we bring the worship, He will change our mind and say, okay, I accept your worship, now I'm going to speak to you. Go and evangelize again. Go and disciple again. Stop being warm, because the same way that I take the blindness out of your face, I'm going to send you to go and anoint Elijah. And that's what he did to him. He said, you know what? It's time. Okay, Elijah, get up. Get up and go anoint Elijah. Go and anoint him. And anoint this king and anoint this king. And if Jezebel pass away from one hand, the other one will get it. And the other one will get it. So that's the amazing thing of God. God is going to tell you, number one, when you come and listen to God, God is going to wake you up and say, you know what? Start focusing in Jezebel. Start focusing in these things that make you frustrated. Start focusing in the economy. Start focusing in the sadness. Start focusing in all these bad things. And start focusing that my presence is more than enough. So get up and go and anoint somebody that they will receive the same thing that you have received. Because the reality is you're hanging out with the wrong people. You're hanging out with Jezebels. You're hanging out with negative people. So get out, stop hanging out with the wrong people, and go find, because they are Elisha's waiting for you to anoint them. The problem is sometimes we keep spending time with the people that don't want to listen, that they don't want to change. And then we just become like them. But if you and I go to the mountain of God, I have my intimacy with God, then God is going to open my eyes and say, stop hanging out with Jezebel, negative, possessive, controlling. Stop hanging out with those and change your focus. You say that you're the only one. I'm going to show you that you're not. There is a king waiting. There is another king. There is another Elijah that he's waiting and waiting right there to follow you and learn from you. So that's the number two. Number one, seek and go to the mountain of God. Number two, stop hanging out with the wrong people. What are you saying? That I should start evangelizing? No, evangelize the people that God sent you to. Disciple the people that God put you in your path. He went and got Elijah and anointed him with attitude. That's the way that I see it. But he did it. He was obedient. Not only that, God says this. This is an amazing thing. When he opened our eyes and he take us out of that selfishness and all the things that, oh, poor me, look what I'm passing through. Or, oh, I need this, or I need that. Did that sound familiar? I need a better car, a better house. Oops, everybody got quiet. When I come to this day, I was so pleased with so less. Because I was raised with less. Then all of a sudden, I'm working 16 hours because I want extra money. Extra time, that way I can make more money. And when I realize I'm driving a Lexus, brand new from the dealership, but I have to work my, you know what, to pay for it. So I put myself in a position that I become a slave again of this nation. So when God opened my eyes, it's like, Damien, just stop that. Come to the mountain, I will speak to you, and you will do things differently. That's the amazing thing. Going to the mountain doesn't grow old. It should be something daily before I make any kind of decisions. That way I don't get caught up and become slave of whatever I have become slave. This is what God told him. And I have reserved. Go and stand in the mountain before the Lord. And God spoke to him. And this is what it says in Kings 19:16. Well, let's go to the 15. Then the Lord said to him, go return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus. And when you arrive, anoint Hazael as a king of Syria. Also you should anoint Jeshu. Yeah, I'm going to say it in Hebrew. That way we don't argue. The son of Nimshi, a king of Israel, and Elijah, a son of Shaphat, and Abel Meholah. You shall anoint as prophet in your place. The first thing he did is like, stop your focus, buddy. There are people that you can anoint. There are people that you can invest your time. There are people that you should be evangelizing instead of just coming to church and sitting down and do nothing. You know, I believe that the heart of this church is go back to the mountain. That's why our pastor have been pushing worship. But the reality is the more that we put worship in ourselves, the more that we seek God, the more that we will understand that as I worship God, God is going to send me back to the people. The more that we worship God, the more that we realize what He died for. So the more hungry, the more passionate we become for evangelism. The more passionate we become for discipling. If we just focus on discipling and not on God, we will gonna grow old and weary. Because the truth is the love and the passion and compassion come from God. So we always have to go back to the mountain of God. But being in the mountain, we will always find directions of discipling and evangelism. Because God carries for the people. But the difference is, by hearing God, we will not grow all weary and tired. Because it's with His direction. And that's what He did. He's like, you're not going to hang out and listen to Jezebel no more. You're going to go anoint these people. And they're going to take care of Jezebel. You don't even have to take care of it. They will for you. Just stop dealing with them. But this is what it says later. I should be, say, I should be the whoever escape For the sword of Jezebel, Jeshua will kill. And whoever escaped from the sword of Jehu, Elijah will kill. Yet I have reserved 7,000 in Israel, all whose knees have not bowed to Baal, and every mouth they have not kissed him. What I'm trying to say, this is what is amazing. There were 7,000 people. In the Hebrew version, you know what it say? I will make 7,000 that they haven't bowed to Baal and kissed this thing. In other words, it's speaking about discipling. He's saying, change your way of thinking, Elijah. Stop focusing on depression and oppression and these things. And because you're not focusing, there are 7,000 people that they have chosen not to follow Baal, but I will make them through you. Because if you look later, through Elijah and Elisha, become a school of prophets, become a discipling format where Elijah was able to impart to Elijah, and Elijah was imparted to 7,000 more. So there were 7,000 people that they were waiting for the right attitude. Let me tell you, there are thousands in Benton. They are waiting for you and I to be an Elijah. They are waiting for you and I to, instead of focusing and be agree with every Jezebel lie and every government stupidity and every bad focus that we're having and negative, and it's time for you and I to become the light of the world, the salt of this earth. That you know that you are the salt. Jesus Christ make you the salt to change the flavor of this earth, the light to shine in the darkness. It's Jesus through you. But the enemy, as long as he can oppress us and keep us captive of that, and oh, poor me, I'm passing through this, I'm passing through that, and keep living on the past, you cannot anoint other people. You cannot see it, so because you cannot see it, you cannot help. So God had to deal with them and say, Elijah, let me show you how. You are set free now. Go anoint. Because there are a lot of people that are waiting for you to teach them, for you to disciple them, for you to encourage them. You know, I love this church. I love this church with all my heart, and that's why we're here. But it'd be sad to become a church that we just come and sit down. It'd be sad. I grew up in churches like that. Amazing revivals, amazing, but sometimes we'll become like warm. And have an amazing worship, but we will just become settled when there are 7,000 people outside waiting for us to have the passion and the power of God to go and teach them who God is. How can I do it? Come back to the mountain. Come back to them. It's okay you're weary. It's okay that Jezebel have been screaming. It's okay that Satan, it's okay, it's okay. Don't stay there. That's not okay. So how can I get rid of it? Let's come to this church in a different way. Well, tonight I don't like the worship. That's Jezebel in you right there speaking. Because the truth is, doesn't matter if you will like it or not. If I come here to hear God, I'm going to hear God. And that's the attitude we should have. Our attitude of Elijah, our attitude of Moses. This is my mountain. I want to hear you, God. And when you speak, I follow. This will be a house where you and I receive the food. It is a house. Our pastor is doing an amazing job. He's going to pay me later for that, but it's okay. Like this morning, it was an amazing word. But the truth is, faith comes by hearing. Hearing through what? Through the word. We all can hear the same word and have no faith. Why? Because we're not hearing the voice of God through the word. And how that happened? When we lost our fear for God. When we fear God and we come to the church understanding that this is my mountain, and we fear God and we let behind our opinions, we fear God with all of our heart. When pastor speaks, we listen. God through our pastor. So whatever it is that Satan having put it on you, even if you come through news, through that, through our people, sometimes it's different. Immigration is something that scares them a lot. It's sad. They work, they do jobs that nobody else want to do, but they cannot get help from the government. They cannot get any kind of help. They don't get Medicaid, socials, or anything. They still have to pay the $8,000-$10,000. I used to translate in Cape. And whenever they go for some kind of issues to the doctor, they will bill them $8,000 bills. They don't have a system. They don't have help. So what I'm saying is their issue is that they can't drive because they don't have a driver license. So if they're driving, they know that if somebody pulled them over, they might be sent back to their country. So they live under this attack and this fear. It might not be yours. But you know what? I speak to them when I can. The same thing I'm speaking to you. Go back to the mountain of God. Because if somebody got you and send you to Mexico, go evangelize Mexico. If somebody send you to Guatemala, go evangelize Guatemala. Because what matters is how we see things. And when we start seeing things different, we are walking in victory and as an overcomers. So what is that is oppressing you? What is that is making you stay back? Is your job? Is your economy? What it is? You're too old now? What is? What is it you're fighting with? What is? Because I assure you that we're not what we used to. Like how many people you share about Jesus today? Well, they all know about Jesus. Well, if you spend time in the mountain of God, I assure you that you will find a Elijah to anoint outside. Not here, outside. If you will spend time on the mountain of God, God will appoint you the kings and Elijahs that are waiting outside. If you will spend time with God, God will reveal to us the 7,000 that need to be trained. So what it is that is holding us back? What it is that we cannot grow? You know, I'm not speaking about quantity and having this church full, but in a way I do. There are more people outside. So let's fear God like we used to. Take out that mask that is holding us. When in reality is if I come to the mountain and lay down those things, I'm going to get up like Elijah, like Moses, and become free, and I'm going to free as many slaves that I can. You know the story, how it went with Moses. He went back and God used him to free all the Jews out of slavery. God will use you to free Benton out of slavery. God will use you to free Paducah, to free around here families. It's time to do that again. But how? You stand up first and go back to the place that God is calling you, His mountain. How can I save my family? Come to the mountain. How can I save my city? Come to the mountain. How can I save my people? Come to the mountain. He will appoint you who to anoint, who to disciple, who to set free. Oh, but you don't understand. I'm so caught up. I do. That's why I'm preaching. I do. We shouldn't wait until the government or the oppressors or all these things make us come in our knee and cry out to God. But if that's the way, so be it. I saw it. Churches, like I said, went 200 to 1,000, 1,000 to 10,000. People do lines outside of service to get inside, to have a word from God. And then God started blessing them in such a way the carrots become the size, my side or your side. I will show that video. I said it before. I'm going to find it and bring it to you. And how did that happen? Because I want the blessings. I want revival. I want to see those things. But we don't understand. Sometimes oppression needs to come the way I see these things. I need to cry out the way I see these things. So let's come back to this church with hunger again, to this mountain with passion and compassion. And the truth is, when we do it, God, just come as you are. Moses was scared. Elijah was afraid, jealous. but they come to the right place. So look at your neighbor and say, you're in the right place. And I'm going to ask the worship team to come up. This weekend I heard something that I heard the Dr. Parrish used to say, but it's like the threefold chords. The presence of God, discipling, and relationship go all together. Is that correct, Dr. Parrish? That's how you used to say it? The threefold chords, they're three in one. The presence of God, God seeking, God worship. Worship, discipling, and relationship. Because without worshiping and the presence of God, we have nothing to disciple. But as we worship, we will learn how to disciple. And disciple, without relationship, we have nobody to disciple. And this is amazing thing about this. They come to the mountain to realize how. Before they come to the mountain, they kill somebody. Moses tried, but tried in his own timing and his own way and fell. So how many feel a failure here sometime? Well, welcome to the neighborhood. The good thing is tonight you can change that. But stop trying for your own. And realizing that we all have issues, we all have problems. The difference is where we left them. And we can left it in God's hands and the mountain. And start listening to Him and obey. I'm looking forward for those moments of God. But more than a movement, I'm looking forward for you and me to start being obedient and do something outside. Because there are hundreds and thousands waiting. Father, we're so thankful. I'm thankful. I come to the mountain. I just want to have an open altar. If you want to come, just come. And whatever it is that God was speaking to you, come and lay it down on the altar tonight.
Stand amazed in the presence, Jesus.
Come to your mountain. Find your mountain. Find your spot of the mountain.
How he could love me,
Find your mountain.
sinner